r/AskReddit. What are some things you'd only know by growing up poor? How to keep a 7-year-old from knowing she's poor. My mom used to take my brother and I to the soup kitchen every week to volunteer. We must always be kind to those less fortunate, she'd say. Then, after volunteering, "Oh, it's so late and I don't feel like cooking. Let's just eat here while we're here." Double quote. This speaks volumes to me. When my sister and I were growing up before the age of 10, we were pretty bad off, though we never knew it. Our parents were so good at not cluing us into it that we didn't even know until we were adults. We lived in rural Texas, and a couple times a week, my dad would come in and say to us, "I noticed a lot of people littering on the way home. We should go do our part to keep our community beautiful and clean." So we would go walk up and down the highway picking up cans and glass bottles. We would then take them to the recycling yard where we got to watch the cool machine shoot the cans at the big pile of crushed cans. I later found out we did that because we couldn't afford basic necessities, and we were collecting recyclables, which the yard paid for by the pound at the time, so we could go buy a gallon of milk, eggs, and bread. My parents are my role models now, and I only hope I have been half as good a parent to my kids as my parents were to me. When someone breaks into your house but doesn't take anything. Happened once. Still think it's funny. Poignant. Thief realizes he's not as desperate as the people who live there. You go to bed early to skip a meal. Edit. Thank you guys so much for the gold and silver. I'm having Reddit awards for dinner today. Gold medal. Sleep for dinner. Your dad asking you for $20 so he can go to work for the week but he'll pay you back when he gets paid. Yeah, my dad would randomly give me $5 every month or 2 months. Sometimes I saved it up and it always hurt when he needed $20 for gas. I didn't get mad though because it was his money originally. Knowing the cheapest thing on the menu at every restaurant. For when your friend's family invites you out to dinner, even though you're not paying, you're programmed to only select the cheapest thing. My friend's mom said you sure like hot dogs. That's all you order no matter where we go to eat. Right, double quotation mark. I learned these things because I expected that they'd try to pay for me and if I lost the no I'll pay for it battle, then at least I wouldn't be gouging them. I still hate letting others pay for me though. I feel like a moocher. Edit. Gosh. Y'all are so wholesome. If anybody needs a pick-me-up, read the comments below this one. Made me smile. Libraries can save your life. The first part of my childhood I would get home from school, usually to a vacant house. I really wouldn't know if I was even going to see either of my parents each night. No cell phones of course. But I was always afraid, nervous at least, of what would happen if they did decide to make an appearance. I started walking to the library every day after school and staying till they closed every night just to avoid the feeling of anxiety for a little longer. Eventually one of the librarians noticed and took a liking to me. I think she might have been through similar things in her life that she saw in me. Gradually we got to know each other. First I started noticing there were more books being added in the genres that I liked. Then one day after the library closed, I walked over to McDonald's. I was a quarter or so short to buy a hamburger and she saw me asking people if they had any change. I saw her and was embarrassed and kinda hid from her. From that point on I think she decided that she was going to take me under her wing. For over a year she would come by my desk at the library and just drop off chips, granola bars, pop, whatever you know. Of course, I would tell her I didn't need it, when in reality I only knew where one meal would come from each day. When I would ask her where it came from, she would just say it was extras from the break room, even though I could hear her in there putting coin after coin into the vending machine. Eventually she would just bring dinner every night to the library and we would sit down in the break room with each other and eat. I finally opened up to her about my family living issues and had her to talk to, even though I was still pretty guarded. This was a huge relief. Then, after I had been there almost 2 years, it was the week before school started, and I headed into the library. Before I left she told me to meet her outside after close. I did. We walked to her car, and she pulled out a brand new school backpack, and inside was a new outfit, binder, and shoes. My first Nikes. That's when I broke down, and my walls crumbled. She was a single lady working off a librarian's income, but she still made room for me. For 3 years she supported me as much as she could, and she was more of a friend than I had ever experienced up until that point in my life. She is the #1 reason I got out of that house and life. She was with me at all my adoption hearings, and made sure I was put with a nice family. She was at my graduation and my wedding. She saw me grow up and succeed in life after coming from the bottom. She saw her work and love pay off. I went to her funeral this summer and it felt like I had lost my mother, but I couldn't stop reflecting on how much she changed my life through her sacrifice. Truly an amazing person. And I still donate to the library every year. Edit. So I've only really been active on Reddit for a couple months. I think this is how you're supposed to do this though. It's really cool for me to see that this affected people. I wrote it, and just intended it to kind of disappear into the other 15k comments. And sometimes it just feels good writing stuff out. So just to level with everyone, I only talk to my closest friends about this in my real life. So let's label this a mini therapy session, if you will. Thanks to everyone for the platinum, gold, silver. Like I said, I'm a new and don't know much about gold, so I will be reading about it after work. Haha. Appreciate everyone's kind comments. Edit 2. Unfortunately, I'm not able to be on here much during the weekdays, but I just wanted to let everyone know at least that I got through and read every single comment sent. This made me cry. Wow, these kind of people are truly special. I DK about in other states, but in MN they can't shut your power off during the winter because of the danger of someone freezing to death in their house. So that was a good time to try to catch up on some other bills you are way behind on too. They just passed the law in Arizona where it is the other way around starting next summer due to it being 100 plus all day and night regularly. Everybody is curious to see how it is going to play out. You develop an appreciation for hand-me-down clothes when they come your way. Yes, because they were usually still in style and clean. I'm hungry, drink some water. We were probably the best hydrated children at school, Mayo. But I think the thing I appreciate most is the independence I've gained through fixing things to keep them going, or from just not wanting to ask my parents for help when I know they're struggling too. Edit. Thank you to the kind Redditor for the platinum. I'm comparatively new to Reddit and have never received a medal before, so forgive me if I'm going against protocol. Wow, I didn't expect this to resonate with so many people, but I've just read through everyone's comments. You're all beautiful, strong, and resourceful people, and you deserve the world. I wish you all the best in breaking free from this destructive cycle. It is possible, and if my best wishes can do anything, then it will be possible for you. It's kind of funny to me that a weight loss tip is to drink a glass of water when you feel hungry, and wait a few minutes before actually eating. A bunch of times, when you feel hungry, you were actually thirsty. Not to ask their parents for stuff. I felt so guilty asking for clothes or other school needs. It also made me dread class art projects, especially in non-art classes. Yay, it's only $20 worth of crafts, but that's money we need for real life. Camping is only fun when you've never had to do it out of necessity. My cheapskate boss told me it was a lifestyle choice. I truly had no idea until I was in my junior year of high school taking child development that Head Start was a program created for children from homes of low income. I simply thought it was a place for me to get a head start as a kid. I still remember my teacher saying verbatim, "No honey, your family was just poor," in front of the whole class. Edit. RIP my inbox. Ha. Wait. Kindergarten isn't half days anymore. When did this happen? 25 years ago, at least in my life experience that's how it was. What hunger really is. I remember waiting for my dad's payday for the grocery shopping trip and being absolutely ravenous when the food got there. I don't remember which day of the week it was, but we'd go on the day that the most free samples were available. How important ingenuity becomes to eat. Mom could make a bag of potatoes last 2 weeks amongst 5 kids. Her and my dad. Rice, butter, and sugar was a breakfast food. Biscuits lasted days, toasted butter and brown sugar for dinner, etc. Anything shiny on the ground might be a coin. I need to get out of this thread. Can still spot a penny on the sidewalk half a block away. How to cook with the government surplus cheese. We got so much of that cheese. A few years ago I stopped in a Hostess bread store in a poor neighborhood. I was the only white guy in the store, and while waiting in line, other people started talking about the government cheese, and I said that my family got a lot of it and we liked it. Everyone goes quiet and looked at me. Then someone says, "We thought that was just for black folk." And I said, "No, we got it too because it was for poor people." And then we all started talking about the cheese. Food stamp paper change. When I was a kid, if you used food stamps they would give back the change in food stamp form. My mom was too proud to publicly use them, so she would make up a reason to leave and I would have to pay using them. I was 11 or so. She did it every time. I had to learn to keep my head up. My mother would send me into the store with $20 one food stamps. I would stand at the register and get the 95 cents change for each 5-cent gum. One at a time. They figured out what I was doing and started laughing. But they let me do it. The shame was not nearly as bad as dealing with Mama without her methadone. I was 11 too. On the bright side, nothing embarrasses me now. Pizza nights are the best birthday present you could ever fucking get. A whole pizza, ordered exactly how you like it, and you get to have more than one slice. When I was about 10, my older brother was working as some kind of technician and he secretly took me along on a trip to check some equipment in a different city. We had Pizza Hut for dinner 2 nights in a row with the company card and I remember being in absolute heaven. Government cheese. Doing your laundry in a bathtub using only cold water. BC the gas was shut off. Trying to spend the night at your friend's house. BC they had food and a warm room. Thanks Nikki. Loving going to school because you could at least eat there. Trips to Goodwill for new clothes. Showers at school because at least free water was warm. Being made fun of because you smelled like kerosene. Having lice and no one doing anything about it. Going to school with brozes. BC your parents took their shitty decisions out in you. I'm so grateful to a handful of people that saw potential in me. I went to college, got a great job, and broke the cycle. Thanks Tom and Tony. Not being able to do extracurriculars. I wanted to be in orchestra and I wanted to play soccer but we couldn't afford it, so I was told no. Couldn't afford the uniforms or the gas to get me to practice. And definitely couldn't afford a violin. I ended up moving to a largely upper middle class area for college. First boyfriend was rich. He played 9 instruments and played soccer and went skiing since age 6. He voiced that he thought I was lazy and untalented for not having done at least a sport or learned something like guitar. I explained that we couldn't afford it but that didn't seem to register. He tried to give me his old violin at one point so I could learn and his mother pretty much ripped it out of my hands. This really hits home. I remember dropping band class because I couldn't buy the proper books and maintenance supplies for my clarinet. I eventually asked to change classes because I really couldn't afford it. I am glad she understood because I didn't at the time and she refused to fail me even though for 4 weeks I didn't pull out my clarinet. It took 2 weeks to get the money for the rental and I had to ask her to buy me reeds. It was embarrassing looking at the other chair's books all the time. So I just asked her if she could get me out of the class. I feel like I indeed disappointed her. She is a great teacher full of compassion and understanding. I will always regret not struggling to succeed in her class. Most gas station attendants will not stop a small child from stealing toilet paper from their bathrooms. Who knew? Edit. Thanks for the silver. This isn't something I had to do a lot but it happened from time to time. My mom took excellent care of me, we just fell a bit short sometimes. I used to work at a gas station. I look the other way for a lot of shit. Everyone is struggling and I don't give a shit if a kid steals a candy bar or gets a free icy. One man didn't have enough money for a lighter so I said wait till I turn around. Go walk to the door, light the cig, throw the lighter on the ground, and walk out. Double quote. That sometimes your parents sacrifice everything they have, including their sanity just to see you happy, and you only learn later in life the soul-crushing existence of poverty. Then you wonder how they managed to do so much with so little. For reals. I was 30 when I realized what mom meant when she told us kids to go ahead and eat because she ate in the kitchen. Outdated technology. When I started college, one of my professors asked if anyone in our class remembered how you changed a channel on the TV before remote controls. I was the only person in the room who remembered turning dials and adjusting rabbit ears despite being one of the youngest students in the class. Because my family had a TV from the 70s until 1995. Same sort of thing with computers, phones, etc. If we had it at all, we got something much later than anyone else. After it got cheaper, and bought used. I got my first computer in 1999. It had Windows 3.1 and that was what I used until I was able to use my financial aid to get a new PC tower for college. Same. When I was little had no idea my family was abysmally poor till I was maybe 25ish and realized all our kitchen gadgets were from the 20s to 60s. I'm 44 BTW. One of the damn knobs always goes missing and it's usually the UHF, and goddamn, was it really as hard as I remember? That damn post got stripped real quick. My sister had one of those TVs. She used actual pliers to change channels because the knob was missing. We were not poor, but now that I think about it, that sounds poor now. LOL. How good a buttered tortilla is. Ever tried a cinnamon sugar buttered tortilla? If you send a bad check to the utilities company on a Friday, you have power for the weekend. And if it gets returned, you still have a week or so until they realize it. Back in the 90s, I would deliberately put my bank account into overdraft so I could have a few $100 to meet some needs. It was a strategy. We should write a book on how to be poor. The feeling of not eating for a day or sometimes days. My longest drought was 3 days with no food. Sucks because people make shitty comments about how nice it must be to be so skinny and they have to struggle to keep their weight down. Like, be poor. Go a few days without food and your body just starts to eat itself. I'm thankful I haven't missed a day to eat in 10 years. But I still can't fathom eating 3 meals in one day. You don't want to repeat a grade level, not because it's embarrassing or mommy will scold you, but because that's one less year before you can graduate, work and ease the family's financial burden. Agreed. Everyone in my class thinks I'm a nerd for working hard and studying hard, but I want to ease the family's financial burden just like you. It is not an option. It is a necessity. Cockroaches are killed by baking soda. Wait, do you just throw baking soda on them, and they die? Why did I not know this? Thanks for watching, boys and girls. Tell me your story in the comments. Make sure to subscribe for future giveaways.